The Jak and Daxter series is no stranger to shaking up the formula of its core gameplay, but no entry saw as much of a shift than that of Jak X Combat Racing. Expanding on the vehicle mechanics of the third game, Jak X is a racing game in the vein of Mario Kart and Naughty Dog's own Crash Team Racing, rather than the likes of Gran Turismo or Forza. Now, is Jak X a spin-off? Kind of, but not really, as it does actually continue the story of Jak and Daxter, making it a direct sequel to Jak 3. But I can see why many players at the time might have thought that a racing game wouldn't be continuing the story. I'm not a huge fan of racing games, but I do enjoy a select few such as Mario Kart, Midnight Club 3, and coincidentally Jak X. So I haven't really played that many driving games, but I do have both my New Zealand and American driver's license, so I guess you could say I am a bit of an expert on the subject. Jak X Combat Racing, also known just as Jak X in New Zealand, was released in 2005 for the PlayStation 2. It was the final Jak game to be developed by Naughty Dog, and is actually the final Jak game ever made, because there definitely isn't any others. Official emulation on the PlayStation 4 was added late 2017, and it is utter shit. It is virtually unplayable on a base PS4. It is laggy as hell with random freezes, and the music gets all distorted. It's just an awful experience. If you only have a base PS4, do not get this version. It is a waste of money. Thankfully, an amazing man from above came to the rescue, and I was able to play it on a PlayStation 5 with absolutely no issues. The best part about this version is that the auto-saving glitch has been fixed. In early copies of Jak X, there was a programming error where the autosave feature had the potential to corrupt saves, and sometimes even entire memory cards, but there is no risk of this happening here. Unfortunately, the online function has been disabled, so you can no longer race against people online, which is a very strange admission, as you'd think that this feature would be far more relevant nowadays, but what would I know? I don't have any friends to play with anyway.
Tragedy, ain't it?
Jak X opens with Daxter in a bar telling the patrons the tale of the time he was wheel to wheel with the nastiest racing cars he had ever seen. It flashes back to Jak being pursued by thugs and vehicles. As one would expect from a Naughty Dog game, the animation in this opening scene is fantastic. The animation is timed to a song Millionaire by Queens of the Stone Age, which I can't play for you because... The song was initially used as a placeholder until an original track was composed for it. However, the team fell in love with it and decided to keep it. Daxter continues to tell his story as more people gather, one of whom is holding a knife. Jak eventually manages to elude all of the thugs for long enough to crash through the window of the bar where Daxter is. It turns out that this isn't even a flashback.
Dax, get in the car!
Jak! Are you crazy? You ruined my story!
Now!
Ah! What are you waiting for? Step on it, Jak!
I told you not to go out. We're getting death threats, Dax. Someone doesn't want us here.
You think? I say we take the next boat home.
Not a chance. Hang on!
Jak!
The events of Jak X Combat Racing take place a year after those of Jak 3. Jak and Daxter have arrived in Crash City, the location of the Grand Championship of Combat Racing, after receiving an invite to the reading of Crue's will. Jak, Daxter, Kira, Ashlyn and Torn are all present, as is Crue's daughter Rain.
Crue? Reproduced? Ew.
Following a toast, Crue reveals in a recording that everyone in attendance has been poisoned with black shade, a slow-acting poison. Crue issues an ultimatum. Everyone must race and win at the next Crash City Grand Championship in order to obtain the antidote.
What the hell did you do to us?
Please, I didn't know. I drank it too. Father never did play favorites.
Yeah? Well, your father's crazy.
We're all crazy for coming here!
I think she's telling the truth.
Well, it's been 1 minute, so I figure by now you're all arguing about how to get out of this mess. My advice is trust no one. Win the race and save yourselves.
Jak, next time you invite me to one of your little parties, don't!
We can do this. We can race. And we can beat Crew at his own game.
Father bought us the best mobile racing garage money can buy, and each of you has a racing car waiting. We're in this together, so let's get to it.
A Jak X will be racing in race cars similar to the buggies in Jak 3. These vehicles, unlike the Zoomers, do not have anti-gravity capabilities and instead rely on 4 wheels. Before you can compete in any of the races, the game will take you through a short tutorial. The tutorial will teach you how to control your vehicle. You must press and hold the X button to accelerate. When I first started playing, I did not like this setup as I prefer to use the triggers for that kind of control. By the way, none of these controls can be changed. However, once you start participating in the various races, it becomes clear why the controls are configured the way that they are. To turn, press either the square or circle buttons. The circle button is better for quick 180-degree turns, while holding down the square button allows you to reverse. When taking corners in Jak X, you should power slide around them rather than slowing down and turning like in a car. Power sliding is a great way to get around aggressive corners and sharp turns while also increasing your turbo meter. Holding down the R2 trigger will activate your turbo, which you should try and use all of the time. The turbo is represented by blue eco, which can also be obtained by gaining hang time and picking it up along the tracks. The L2 trigger allows your vehicle to jump, which isn't used very often but does come in handy in some races. You can also get red and yellow eco in addition to the blue eco. These are your weapons. When you pick up a yellow eco pod, you will be equipped with a yellow eco weapon. These are front-mounted weapons that can be used to damage other races. Once you've picked up a yellow eco weapon, you can use it by pressing the R1 button. In most race types, you will not start with any weapons, but in others you will always have a submachine gun, which is the weakest weapon in the game. There are 5 yellow eco weapons that can be picked up. The Vulcan Fury is a machine gun that is more powerful and has faster rate of fire than that of the basic machine gun. The grenade launcher launches metal crushing grenades at an enemy's vehicle. Tracking missiles are among the best you can get. They will zero in on a specific vehicle in front of you. The disadvantage is that they will not do so if a vehicle is too close. The Supernova is unquestionably the most powerful weapon in the game. It will destroy all vehicles in your path. However, it is extremely rare and effectively useless if you're in first place. Additionally, if it is not used within 10 seconds, it will backfire and blow you up. The Peacemaker is Jak X's blue shell. It will track down and destroy the driver in first place. Red eco weapons are also available. These are rear-mounted defensive weapons that are essential for avoiding incoming missiles and other drivers' attacks. If you're at the front of the pack, these are the weapons you should prioritize. There are 8 different red eco weapons to be obtained. Static mines are dropped directly behind the vehicle and will explode and cause damage if run over. Gun towers are turrets dropped onto the track that fire at passing vehicles. Smoke screens emit a dense cloud of smoke behind a vehicle, obscuring the visibility of those following behind. When vehicles come into contact with an oil slick, they lose traction. The shield system will encase your vehicle in eco power shield that not only protects you but also deals damage. It is also the only thing that will keep you safe from the Peacemaker. Saucer drones travel backwards along the track for a maximum of 120 seconds. If they collide with another vehicle, they will explode and will most likely destroy it. It does a ton of damage, and if launched on one of the shorter tracks, you can collide with your own drone. So be careful. I learned that the hard way. Attack drones will circle your vehicle and fire a barrage of bullets at any unsuspecting vehicles that come within range. Finally, turbo assist will prevent other drivers from using their turbo boost while simultaneously maxing out your own. On top of the red and yellow eco meters is a smaller dark eco meter. This meter fills up with dark eco as you destroy enemies and take damage. When you fill the meter, your weapons will be upgraded from level 1 to level 2, giving them more power, more ammo, and sometimes altered effects. The variety of weapons can lead to very chaotic races and battles. It's crucial to understand when to use and when to keep a weapon, though it can feel a little too much at times, as being destroyed multiple times in a race can be extremely frustrating, especially right before the finish line. The Crash City Grand Championship is divided into 4 Eco Cups, red, blue, green and yellow, each with qualifying rounds and a Grand Prix to advance to the next cup. Each cup has a set number of events spread across various tracks. Entering these events allows you to earn medal points, which allow you to unlock new races. Gold medals are worth 3 points, silver is worth 2 points, bronze is worth 1 point, and for anything else,
you get an everlasting gobstopper. You can suck it and suck it, suck it, and never get any smaller.
Before the first event begins, the crew is introduced to GT Blitz, the Crash City Racing commissioner and host of the GT Blitz show. He is constantly being followed by cameras, and his show will cover the combat races. Pika later joins him as his co-host, much to his chagrin.
Thank you, GT. And hello to all you peoples out there watching. I'd like to thank the network for choosing me to save this anemic little show.
Yes, well, welcome aboard, Pecker.
That's it! Who's his agent? Pecker always gets the sweet gigs in these adventures.
My first network assignment has been to investigate the rumored super bet on this year's big championship race. Sources say a high-level underworld crime connection is involved. But sadly, my sources won't return calls, and are now missing, and are probably dead. But Pecker is not so easily swayed. I will uncover the truth and report my findings right here on our show, GT.
Of course you will. And let me just say it's going to be so great working with you.
You too, Blitzman. Oops, sorry.
Why, you little bird
The first race type we'll be participating in, and I guess you would call it the most traditional race type, is the circuit race. The goal of these races is to finish the set number of laps first, but this is called combat racing for a reason. You must not only be the first to cross the finish line, but you must also cross it in one piece. There are both yellow and red eco weapons to be found on the tracks. When in the lead, use the red eco weapons. When in the rear, use the yellow. When it comes to using these weapons, the AI drivers will not hold back. It is unusual to finish a race without being blown up at least once. Sometimes you get a run of really bad luck, and it feels like your vehicle is made out of paper mache. Even hitting a barrier at just the right angle will cause you to go up in flames. One of my pet peeves about this game is sometimes when you destroy a vehicle, it will occasionally cut to a more cinematic camera that shows the destruction of your opponent. It will then abruptly return to the gameplay, which is extremely disorientating. It can really throw you off. There is also no way to disable this effect. Partway through the Red Eco Cup, Jak meets Razor, the guy who tried to knife Daxter in the beginning. Razor is a retired Crash City Grand Champion. He eventually became the top lieutenant to the primary enforcer of the underground combat racing gang Lord Miso, running his gang of thugs, who are most of the drivers we have been racing against.
Don't make me put on my goggles and show you how it's done. You wouldn't live long enough to see me cross the finish line.
I'm ready whenever you are.
Oh, I'm sure we'll match up soon enough. The race of the century, eh? In the meantime, watch your back. I've heard someone arranged a few surprises this time out.
To be able to compete in the Grand Prix event, we must first compete in the 2 qualifiers. In contrast to the other racing events where you didn't necessarily have to earn gold to advance, in the qualifiers you must earn gold. The Red Eco Cup qualifiers are both circuit races, though later cups add a bit more variety. This first cup isn't too difficult, but it will gradually become more so as the game progresses. Not only will we be racing against faster opponents, but the tracks will also become more difficult, with more and sharper corners and more chances to blow yourself up. Because of Jak's increasing success in the races, the enigmatic Miso has hired UR86, a former member of the KG Deathbots, to try to eliminate him. Fortunately for us, Sig has arrived to help.
Sorry I'm late for the party, guys. I heard about Crue's little potion. That's why I never drank on the job. I say, never trust a dead man. Don't worry, I'll help you get that antidote.
Easy for you to say. Your life's not on the line.
For my friends, it is.
Good to have you back, Sig.
Great to be back. Now let's see about this so-called competition.
You'll be eligible for the Grand Prix if you win both the qualifying rounds and accumulate 50 medal points. The Grand Prix consists of 3 consecutive races with no breaks in between. The final race of the Grand Prix is held on a tour racetrack, with only one extremely long lap. These are my personal favourite circuit races because they seamlessly take you through a variety of racetracks. It makes the world feel connected and not just a bunch of disjointed areas, which is very rare to see in a racing game. After each Grand Prix race, you earn Grand Prix points, and your overall ranking is determined by your Grand Prix score. In each race, the first place driver receives 10 points, the second receives 8 points, and so on, until the last racer receives 1 point. Because some tracks are more difficult than others, doing poorly in one race does not always mean you can't win the next, but it also works against you, as you can do really well in the first race and completely blow it in the last.
That was a big win for the newcomer, my fine feathered friend. We're going to have to pay more attention to this boy.
I've done some digging, G-Baby, and I've uncovered more information about the rumors of that big underworld bet. Someone is manipulating the sport.
You know, I've been covering this sport for decades. Do you honestly think you can come onto my show and make me look like a fool? Well, you.
We are given 2 new vehicles at the start of the Green Eco Cup. There are 3 classes of race cars, each class belonging to a certain Eco Cup and possessing 4 cars each. Each class usually has at least one of each type of car: All-Rounder, Brawler, Speedster and Hybrid. All-Rounders lack exceptional speed and armor, but can perform a wide range of tasks. They can even excel in some areas when upgraded. Brawlers are large fortified vehicles that specialize in armor and close combat. Speedsters resemble mini cars and are designed for speed, but they are typically fragile and have poor handling. Hybrids combine the speed of a speedster or an all-rounder with the strength of a brawler.
Daddy, I want to race. They need me out there. I can win it all.
Kira was strangely absent from the narrative in Jak 3, and her role as Jak's love interest was given to Ashlyn for some reason. It just didn't work, in my opinion. Jak X goes out of its way to make you forget about that, as Ashlyn is clearly back with Torn and Kira is overly flirtatious with Jak, to the point that it feels a little out of character. Kira's voice actress is different from the first 2 games and has a different delivery than the original, which adds to her feeling like a slightly different character. Kira is the team's mechanic, but she wants to do more by racing. Her father Samos does not want her to do it because it is far too dangerous, and a woman's place is in the kitchen fixing cars. a woman's place is in the garage fixing cars. Going to the garage allows you to tune vehicle performance, modify your vehicle with a variety of body parts, change your driver's helmet, add an antenna, and most importantly, customize your vehicle's paint job. Winning gold medals in Eco Cup events unlock body parts. You can collect up to 5 different style sets. You will always begin with the entire Crash standard set. These body parts are purely cosmetic and have no bearing on the performance of your vehicle. The helmets and antennas are only available through the secrets menu, but what exactly do you use to buy them? Well, it wouldn't be a Jak and Daxter game without the iconic precursor orbs. Completing races will grant you precursor orbs. How much you earn will be determined by your position, the cup, and a few other factors. They can be used to not only purchase secrets from the secret menu, but also to improve the performance of your vehicles. Engine, gearbox, armor, and turbo are the 4 most important racing stats. The car itself determines the maximum level of a race car's stats, so it's a bit hard to compare cars against each other. The engine stat determines your vehicle's top speed. A vehicle with a low engine stat will have difficulty keeping up with the other racers while maintaining a consistent lead once ahead. The gearbox stat is subtle but important, improving your vehicle's initial acceleration and slightly increasing your engine's top speed. The armor stat fortifies your vehicle's existing armor, increasing the number of hits it can withstand before being destroyed. The turbo stat improves your vehicle's turbo efficiency, allowing it to boost for a longer period of time per turbo capsule. The first 3 cups will start with an all-rounder and a brawler, with 2 more vehicles unlocked through medal points. I usually just stick with the all-rounders, because it allows me to focus on upgrading 1 car at a time, as higher upgrades can be quite expensive. The further Jak and the others advance through the cups, the more competition that joins the races. During the Green Eco Cup, Cleaver ends up showing up, who has been hired by someone. It's a mystery.
Who's paying you, Cleaver? You don't do anything for free.
During Freeze Rally events, there will be floating stopwatches around the track. Picking them up will cause the timer to stop for a set number of seconds. Some stopwatches are more beneficial than others, so keep an eye out for these, as some of the best ones are a little bit out of the way, but still worth pursuing. The more you stop the clock, the faster your lap times will be. A gold medal is awarded for beating the fastest time. Freeze Rally is very similar to time trials, except the time trials can only be played in exhibition mode and do not appear in any of the Eco Cups. In time trials, you'll be on the track by yourself attempting to set the fastest time. Assassin is another exhibition mode exclusive event. One driver, including you, will be chosen at random as the target. You must race to the target before anyone else. When one target is destroyed, another is chosen at random. Given that the last two events are only accessible by the exhibition mode, I never played them much, as I much prefer to just stick to the story mode. Exhibition mode is great if you have friends to play with, unlike me. All of the race types can be customized to your liking, and playing in this mode will also earn you precursor orbs to use in the story mode. It is a great way to earn a lot of them rather quickly if you set up the races right. To advance to the Blue Eco Cup, we must win the Green Eco Cup Grand Prix, just as we did with the Red Eco Cup. The events consist of 2 circuit races with a tour track at the final stage. It's a little more difficult than the Red Eco Cup, but if you've upgraded your vehicles, it shouldn't be too difficult.
Tell me, Jak, you just beat one of the top racers in a bid to qualify for the Grand Championship race. Your point totals are impressive. What makes you think people won't kill you for this?
What?
Did I slur my words? Aren't you worried?
Tell you the truth, I'm probably dead already. But that doesn't mean I can't take a few scumbags with me.
Well, you made the people cheer, and that's good for business. Very good indeed. Until next time, this is GT Blitz, signing off.
You got a sweet gig going here.
Oh, it's all for show. For the bigger powers that be. I'd be careful, though. I hear Mizo had a pretty sizable bet on this race, and lost.
I hope he was watching.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
As the Blue Eco Cup progresses, Rain gains access to more of Crue's files, providing us with a better understanding of what is going on with this mysterious Miso that we keep hearing about. It turns out that Crue and Miso made an agreement prior to the game's events. Both games would create their own racing teams, and the loser of the Crash City Championship would submit, leaving the winner as the sole crime family. Given that the group is relying on a couple of crime lords to keep their words, everyone is a bit on edge. The character interactions in this game are fantastic.
It's nice to be back in Haven City, hey, sweetheart?
Torrin, I'm touched.
I was talking to Ashlyn.
I knew that.
The dynamic between Jak, Kira, Ashlyn and Torn is not only fixed, but they all banter with each other like old friends rather than simply telling Jak to go do things. It truly feels like these characters know each other really well. After a difficult race, it's always a treat to be rewarded with a well-animated, well-voiced and well-directed cutscene. It's no surprise that Jak X's animation work is outstanding, not just during the cutscenes but also during gameplay. All of the vehicles move with a strong sense of weight, the weapons are impactful, and when you explode, you go flying as a great ball of fire. The vehicle designs are all pretty cool looking with a variety of styles, and it's fantastic that the game gives you so many cosmetic options to personalize them. And we can't talk about Jak X without mentioning the incredible soundtrack. I'd say the soundtracks for Jak 1 through 3 were pretty mediocre. None of them had tunes I'd listen to outside of the games. Jak X, on the other hand, has a fantastic soundtrack. It gets you pumped up before and during races and blends in perfectly with the rest of the game's aesthetic. This is one of my all-time favourite video game soundtracks. I constantly listen to it, especially while working out. The only drawback to the soundtrack is that the tracks do not loop seamlessly, and there is often a long pause between songs. It is during this cup where the stages start to get quite a bit harder. The main ones I'm referring to are the races held in Crash City and Haven City. There are a lot of really tight corners, which makes using your turbo boost correctly much more difficult, and hitting a corner at an incorrect angle results in... You can take alternate routes and shortcuts on some tracks. Missing the shortcuts on certain tracks will put you at a significant disadvantage as the AI will use them. They do not mess around. There are 4 different tracks housed in 4 different locations. Spargus and Haven City return, while Crash City and Icelands make their debut. The Icelands were alluded to in Jak 3 as the origins of the Marauders. Because it has slippery tracks, it focuses a lot on power sliding and going really fast, which plays into the strengths of the core gameplay, and the Icelands have some of the best tracks in my opinion. Even though 4 stages may not seem like much, there is a lot of variety in the tracks, including some that are shorter and have a lot more laps, longer tracks with fewer laps, and arena setups. There are a variety of events on these arena tracks. The deathmatch is held in an arena. It's combat to the death against the other drivers. The goal is to be the first driver to kill 10 other drivers or to have the most kills when the time runs out. Any of the events that take place in the arenas are the worst. Well, that's what I think anyway. When you constantly have to stop and turn around to move towards your targets, the vehicles just don't feel as fun to drive. The arenas are quite large, but they are cumbersome to navigate. Rain has now decided to start taking part in the races, so pretty much everyone has joined at this point. But you're probably thinking that if we are racing against our allies in a death game, isn't it making it harder for us to win? Given that we frequently blow up our friends and vice versa.
Stop talking about it.
Yeah, it doesn't really make that much sense when you think about it. And it is kind of addressed by Ashlyn, who wants to race because she doesn't want to rely too much on the others to save her life, which is consistent with her personality. But with Kira, it's almost as if she wants to race to prove something to her father, which is a little out of character, because I never got the impression from the other Jak games that Kira felt she needed to prove anything to Samos. At the very least, it adds more characters to play as in the multiplayer, so there's that. Another event that takes place in arenas is the artifact race. It's similar to Jak 3 missions where you had to drive around the desert collecting precursor artifacts. However, the arena in which you must drive is much smaller and you must contend with other drivers. There are always at least 2 artifacts to go after, so it's best to just look at the minimap in the left corner and head for the one that's either closest or that no one else is pursuing. I dislike this event for the same reasons I dislike the deathmatch event. Artifact races are a bit better only because the AI have a bit of trouble with knowing where to go, so they just kind of drive around aimlessly most of the time, so these events are less annoying to win. Mizo, the mysterious character, finally decides to confront Jak, well, sort of. He sends them a video message in an attempt to persuade Jak and his team to back down.
Greetings, fellow race lovers. Your perseverance this season has been surprising, but Crew has sent you on a fool's errand. I'm prepared to forgive and forget and spare each of your lives if you walk away now.
But we can't quit. We have no choice.
Are you crazy? The world's deadliest crime lord is offering you a deal and you refuse? What does Crew have on you guys?
Sports Hunt is yet another arena event, but it appears the least in the story mode. You simply need to find and destroy as many targets as possible. It's essentially a deathmatch, but the targets are metalheads or robots, rather than other drivers. Capture is the final arena style event, and is my least favourite race type in the entire game. You'll be assigned to either the red or blue team, and you will need to work together with your teammates to capture a power cell and return it to your base. The location of the power cell feels very random, and most of the time you end up being so far away that you don't feel like you can do anything. Fortunately, this is another of the less frequently used events, and if I'm not going for 100%, I would usually just skip this event. Razor has come out of retirement to try and stop us from winning. During the Grand Prix event, Razor is supposed to be like kind of the boss character that you're trying to beat. But to be honest, he didn't do all that well, and UR86 was the one who caused us the most problems. The first Grand Prix race is the most difficult in the cup. It's on the sewer track and has a really odd layout. It tricks you halfway through, making you think that you're nearing the finish line when you're not. The terrain is deceptively uneven in places, causing you to lose control all over the place.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the man who beat the mighty Razor. How does it feel to still be breathing?
I just want to win the championship. Then we'll talk.
Why so truculent with the media, Jak? You're the next big star. The championship seems all but locked up. Of course, every star eventually falls.
The Yellow Eco Cup is the game's final cup. We don't get any new vehicles like we did at the start of the previous cups. It is a bit of a letdown. but it makes the upgrades in your other vehicles a lot more meaningful. Turbo Dash is one of my favourite events. It is all about using your turbo boost. Power cells make their triumphant return, and they are scattered throughout the racetrack. You must grab them and then fire them by filling the charge meter with your turbo boost. Each power cell shot earns you a point, and your point total grows with each completed lap. The winner is the one with the most points at the end of the race. Your power cells can be knocked off by other power cells launched by the drivers. However, this can be avoided by using a red eco weapon to deflect it. When you launch your own power cell, you will be automatically equipped with one of these weapons. These races are a lot of fun because you essentially just have to focus on going as fast as possible. You are pretty much turboing the entire time, so these events are always on tracks that are well suited for the increased speed. As the cup progresses, GT Blitz informs the team that a special racer will be competing in the final races. This raises serious concerns about the rules of these Eco Cups, as it appears that racers can enter at will. Why should Jak have to qualify when no one else seems to have to? Death Race is another really fun one. The goal of this event is to destroy as many drone vehicles as possible before time runs out. You can earn points for each drone you destroy, with bonus points awarded if you can destroy multiple drones in a row in a short period of time. On your first lap, you only get 1 point for each drone destroyed, but on the second lap you get 2, and on the third you get 3, and so on. This event, in my opinion, plays really well into the game's strengths. It has all of the fun of being able to use all of the weapons and speed through the tracks without the frustration of being constantly destroyed by other drivers. Rush Hour will have drones driving in the opposite way down the track. To earn points, you must crash into the green and blue drones. However, you must be cautious not to collide with the red ones, as this will cause damage to your vehicle. Similar to the death race, you earn more points on subsequent laps. There are 2 very effective strategies for these races. Use one of the heavier cars and focus on crashing into as many drones as possible, or try to get through the early laps as quickly as possible to earn more points. I prefer the latter strategy, but either seems to work. Rush Hour and Death Race cater to both playstyles, which is why I consider them to be among the best race events. At the start of the final Grand Prix, we learned that the mysterious driver mentioned earlier by GT Blitz is actually GT Blitz himself. The final Grand Prix follows the same format as the others, with 2 circuit races followed by a tour track. By winning the Grand Prix, Jak has earned himself and the team the antidotes that will save their lives. Rain approaches carrying the antidotes. Blitz rushes over to Rain, yelling they cheated. Blitz removes his toupee, revealing himself to be none other than Mizo.
Every star has to fall, right, Mizo?
Ah! You will all die! After him, Jak!
Shocking, but there was a lot of hints as you play through if you're paying attention. We must pursue Mizo and destroy him before he can escape. GT Blitz was the son of a devoted combat racer, and from a young age he felt he was on his own. Every day his uncle would tell his father to take care of his family and stop racing. Despite this, he eventually became a grand champion in the sport. His father won his first championship on a Crash City racetrack, where he died a few years later. It was later revealed that Blitz was responsible for his father's death, at which point he became known as Mizo. Mizo eventually rose to the helm of an underground syndicate with a reputation as one of Crash City's most criminally involved clans, second only to his main rival's gang Crew. To avoid a costly gang war, he and Crew agreed that whoever won the next Crash City Grand Championship would gain a monopoly, and the other gang would cease to exist.
She'll betray you, you know. Are you still talking? Rain. She'll become even worse than me. Right. Like how you killed your own father?
And why not? He left us for his sick love of racing. And when he did, we vowed to own the whole damn sport. All of it! Every last part.
You have a habit of leaving people to die, don't you? You get used to it.
That's cold.
Jak and the gang discover that Rain was aware of the poison even before the wheel was read, and that she was following her father's instructions by ensuring that she was not poisoned, so that their family could be the top crime family in Crash City.
Be better than your father.
As Rain drives away, she calls someone and asks them to spare Jak and his crew. The team celebrates their victory, and Jak and Kira finally get to share a kiss.
Hey! Will you kiss her already? Sheesh.
Jak X is the conclusion that the series needed. With a more personal story, it helped to repair many of the character arcs from the third game. The racing mechanics are thrilling and chaotic. There are plenty of different race types to pick from, although some are definitely better than others, but that mostly just comes down to personal taste. As you progress through all of the racing cups, the game does become a little repetitive. You can end up repeating tracks and events several times, which can get tiring during long play sessions. However, the story and characters are so entertaining that you want to keep playing. While the multiplayer modes are enjoyable, the story mode without a doubt is the title's highlight. When it came to concluding the story of these amazing characters, I found Jak 3 to be a little disappointing. Who would have guessed that the satisfying conclusion that I was looking for could be found in a racing game? Thank you for watching. I have covered Jak 1, 2 and 3 on this channel, and you can watch it somewhere. Okay, bye.